Her name sounds like Ano, but it's Ado, the amazing, talented, and mysterious singer breaking boundaries in Japan and around the world. And that's who we're going to talk about in this video. Anyone into Japanese music or just into Japanese subculture in general would have no doubt heard the name Ado. Not much was initially known about her, as she rarely talked about her private life and kept her identity a secret, but it turns out Ado does actually like to talk. A lot. I sifted through some of her interviews and hopefully will understand a bit more about this unique individual and her world by the end of this video. Now first, there is something that must be explained about what Ado actually is. In the beginning I called Ado a singer, which is true, but more specifically she is classified as an Utaite. Simply put, Utaite are vocalists who are mainly active online through video sharing platforms like Nico Nico Doga and YouTube. Typically they do covers of Vocaloid songs or songs from other Otaku-related entertainment like anime or games, but also generally popular songs too, sometimes even adding their own spin on the lyrics. Apparently the origins of Utaite can be traced back to 2chan, the popular anonymous Japanese internet forum. Users would upload audio files of them singing karaoke songs for others to listen to. Utaite though became more well known throughout the Japanese interwebs through Nico Nico Doga, where they would post under the Utatte Mita category. Utatte Mita literally meaning I tried to sing, as Utaite typically do covers and aren't usually trying to pass themselves as being on the same level as quote-unquote professional singers. They sort of have a protective bubble that allows them not to receive harsh criticism for their quality of work. I wonder how true that really is though. However, some Utaite, like Ado, also release original music and even get popular enough to hold their own concerts, essentially being professional singers in their own right. The great thing about being an Utaite is that regardless of your experience, anyone can be one, which makes it a great place to start for indie artists, especially for those that want to keep their privacy. When Ado was very little, she loved Disney movies like The Princess and the Frog and Enchanted. She even believes Disney played a part in influencing her singing, but she traces back her interest in the online music world around the time she was in elementary school. During school, Ado describes herself as that one kid in the corner of the class that would always draw on their handouts. She labels herself as an inkyara. Inkyara is Japanese slang, which does indicate someone who has introverted characteristics, but it has a more negative connotation. Inkyaras tend to not care as much about their exterior, so are thought to have a crappy fashion sense. They also tend to have a negative mindset and aren't generally thought of as being people you'd want to hang out with. The opposite of inkyara is yokyara. Being into anime from a young age, Ado would bring to school her anime clear files that she would proudly show off to her friends that she was really close with. Pretty cute. But being an inkyara, when a boy would ask about her clear files, Ado would just brush them off, saying that they just wouldn't understand. Around the first grade, she visited her cousin who would show Ado the videos for Daughter of Evil and Servant of Evil. This would be the first time she would come into contact with the world of Vocaloid. If you're interested, I did talk about Vocaloid before in a previous video. After that, she asked her father to help her use a computer so that she could find out more. Vocaloid was completely fascinating to Ado. An actual human wasn't singing, and yet with the characters that represented the voices like Hatsune Miku and Kagamine Rin and Then, it wasn't just something mechanical, it really felt artistic to her. She also really dug the existence of the characters themselves. Soon after, she would delve deep into Japan's very own video sharing platform, Nico Nico Doga, watching a variety of videos. I imagine at that age she must have been very confused as to what the hell she was watching, but Ado says she used to laugh at the comments a lot and loved that unique Nico Nico Doga feel. I don't think comments scrolling across a video is something as appreciated outside of Japan. Apparently at some point she even went to Nico Nico Doga's annual offline event, Nico Nico Chou Kaigi, but I'm guessing this was when she was in high school. Eventually she would learn about Utaite like Soraru and Mafu Mafu. Utaite like these and others would become her inspiration, making her want to try being an Utaite herself. More specifically, Ado mentions that the first time she got really into Utaite was because there were so many Utaite that covered songs from the Kagero project, which she was really into. The Kagero project, for those that want to know, is a mixed media project started by the musician and writer Jin. And before anyone asks, no, she didn't care about idols. The only real creators that she cared about were Utaite. Bummer. Oh, and interestingly, during elementary school, Ado shifted to using her 3DS to view Nico Nico Doga and YouTube when those options became available. She loved playing Nintendo games like Kirby and Pokemon, so I guess it was a natural thing for her to do. But Ado didn't have many friends around her that shared these kind of interests, except for one yokyara friend apparently. Generally though, around that time, there weren't that many in her school who listened to music through those kind of websites, let alone understand the world of Utaite. Some friends initially seemed to be on board with the idea of uploading something think themselves, but only Ado was serious about it. FYI, Ado originally wanted to be an illustrator, which is why she would draw all the time in class. However, she compared herself to other students who she thought were way better at drawing than her, developing feelings of inferiority. Apparently, she also received some negative criticism which she really took to heart, being told that her drawings weren't that good enough. But she thought that maybe the Utaite route could be for her. Ado says that she never saw herself being able to make it with an ordinary job in society, always handing in her homework just by the deadline. She could just see her future self being constantly scolded by her boss. As I touched upon before, Ado doesn't really think that well of herself, sometimes even feeling self-hatred. Feeling like someone who just lives in the shadows, Ado loved the fact that Utaite were able to not reveal their real names or faces and yet be these amazing artists online that would be praised for their work. She wasn't really that confident in herself in many ways, but one thing Ado did think she might have a chance to do well at is singing, and felt that if she became an Utaite, she could actually achieve something. So, by herself, she started looking into what actually goes into making one of these kind of videos. Apparently, she had a pretty rough time learning everything though, as she wasn't originally that computer savvy, and it took her a lot longer than she expected until she was able to post her first video. In fact, before she knew it, she was already around her 3rd year of middle school. Also, as many already might know, Ado had transformed her closet into a recording studio. These pictures have been shown pretty much everywhere. But Ado wasn't the first Utaite to do this, because she says she got the idea from an Utaite who talked about doing the exact same thing within a magazine called Utateta no Hon. As for her name, Ado, as you might have already guessed, it's not her real name. During a Japanese literature class, they were learning about the Kyogen Kakiyamabushi. Kyogen is a form of traditional Japanese comic theater that was developed alongside No, which is more drama focused and serious. While checking a dictionary, she came across the words shite and the name she would use, Ado. Apparently though, she didn't know what Ado meant within the context of Kyogen, she just liked the sound of the word. It turns out that within Kyogen, Ado is the name for the supporting actor, while the lead actor is called shite. All the more better for Ado, as she comments, just like the meaning of the word, I hope that I can support someone's life as a supporting actor. Another reason that she liked the meaning was that Ado doesn't actually write the lyrics or compose her songs. She usually leaves that job to a Vocaloid producer, so she thinks of the main actor being the song and lyrics, which she is supporting. Pretty cool. Oh, and it's not like Ado didn't want to do composition or songwriting. In fact, she tried to during high school, but she just didn't like the lyrics she came up with and apparently had difficulty playing the keyboard and guitar due to small hands. So she gave up. At the age of 14, Ado would post her very first cover on Nico Nico Doga on January 10th, 2017. It was of the Vocaloid song Kimi no Taion. Apparently at first, she wasn't sure which song to cover, but she thought this was a really cool and chic song by Kuwagata P, which is why she chose it. What's also amazing is that she had no hesitancy over posting the video, for fear of, say, negative comments. Ado says that whenever she was feeling down, watching videos of Utaite or Vocaloid really helped her. She was feeling nothing but excitement, and thus Ado started her journey as an Utaite. A few months later, she would release her cover for Star Night or Snow. Soon after that, Strangers. Ado says that she was feeling pretty good around this time in regards to her singing, but it was her 4th cover song, Kirai Kirai Jiga Hidai, that she felt really confident about. It was during that song that she was trying a more aggressive singing style, where she uses those more rock-like vocal inflections that she would be well known for. Because she admired many Utaite, she tried to imitate some of them, which is actually how she developed that way of singing. In particular, she was inspired by the male Utaite Magatera Zero, who sings in a funky rock way with those particular vocal inflections. She thought his way of singing was super cool and tried singing that way herself. Other artists that inspired her way of singing include Shiina Ringo, who she is a massive fan of, and Kurahashi Yoeko. Quite the generational gap there. FYI, Ado wouldn't have imagined this, but a number of years later, Shiina Ringo would write and compose a song for Ado called Yukue Shirezu, which apparently became the main theme song for a horror movie called Karada Sagashi. Ado would continue posting cover videos, gaining a pretty strong fanbase and being noticed by her fellow peers. This would let her get involved with a number of collaboration projects too. She also joined a talent agency known as Cloud9. But at some point, Ado became worried if she would need to rely on her parents after graduating, becoming a NEET. So she decided to have a goal, to do something cool that would solidify her name as an Utaite. And to make sure she would do it, she decided to publicly announce it to her fans. In a YouTube livestream with about 100 or so viewers, she announced that she would do a solo concert by the time she's 18, while still in high school at the venue Zepp Diver City. A pretty ambitious goal, but I'm sure she'll be fine. But there would be something that would possibly end up messing up her plans. the pandemic. Not to worry though, because something even better would come her way. A major record company contacted her through direct message on Twitter, although she initially thought it was a scam. Well, I guess I can't blame her. Apparently this connection was made because her agency asked her if she had something in particular she wanted to do, and Ado said to make her major debut, which looks like how this came about. And through that record company, Ado would make her major debut with, of course, her legendary song Usseewa. Composed and written by Shudo, who Ado is actually a fan of, Ado instantly fell in love with the song when it was first presented to her. Within an interview with Ado, Shudo explained that he already knew about her because he heard her cover one of his songs. Apparently he really liked how Ado sang one of Kurahashi Yoeko's songs during one of her streams, which convinced him it was a good idea to take up the offer of doing a song for her. As if some of you might not already know, Usseewa is a stronger way of saying urusai, which means shut up, along with the wa particle ending that makes it feminine. Basically, Usseewa is something like STFU. Apparently some may think her recording style may have greatly changed because she was now recording songs under a major label, but according to Ado, she just takes her laptop into the studio, has just a mic set up for her, closes the door, sits cross-legged, and does her thing by herself. Sasuga in-kyara, one might say. The impact of Usseewa in Japan was incredible to say the least. It was released in October 2020, but had already gained 20 million views on YouTube by the end of that year. 17 weeks from charting in, Billboard Japan measured Usseewa as being streamed more than 100 million times, the 6th fastest song to do so, and at the youngest age in history for a solo artist. Karaoke places were filled with people screaming Usseewa for months on end, with the lyrics expressing anger towards the norms of Japanese society and its work culture, and showing the strong determination of a woman wanting to live life their way. As you can imagine, Usseewa was a huge hit with Japan's younger generation, who are more likely to be frustrated by Japan's status quo. It certainly raised the eyebrows of many parents. Funnily enough though, Ado actually does have a lot of older fans too. With influences like Shina Ringo and Kurahashi Yoeko, it seems her singing style is pretty appealing to older listeners. Even Shudo mentions his parents really like her. How cute. One thing to mention though, Ado was still in high school when Usseewa came out, so actually she mentioned not being able to relate to some of the lyrics, like being forced to pour alcoholic drinks, something that you might experience if you're forced to go out drinking with your coworkers after work. Instead, she used her own feelings of anger from like crappy things people had said to her so that she could express those negative emotions through her vocals. Needless to say, 2021 was a life-changing year for Ado. Usseewa's success had skyrocketed her to nationwide fame, and it certainly drew in a lot of interest from overseas too. Hearing her song and voice being used everywhere, being a guest on various TV programs, Ado says it all didn't feel all that real, but she still lived life the same way, just with some minor differences here and there. For example, when at the drugstore to buy something, it would be under the sound of her own song. Man, that must be weird. Unlike a lot of Japanese artists, Ado doesn't really play things cool. If anything, it's the complete opposite. She doesn't hold back when it comes to posting about simple, mediocre things or interacting with her fans. I think this has really helped strengthen Ado's fanbase, and it's also made for some really amazing content. Anyway, Ado also managed to fulfill her aspiration of performing at Zepp Diver City with her first concert, Kigeki, in that year of April, and eventually she would release her first album, aptly named Kyogen. Kyogen was full of Ado's love and appreciation for Vocaloid culture, the songs written and composed by Vocaloid producers she respected and looked up to. The first song on the album is actually Ado's second major single, Ready Meido, written and composed by Suri. Actually, Ado had been listening to Suri's music since their first video posting, thinking that someone really amazing had just turned up. That's why it was mind-blowing to her that they would do this song for her. She chose this as the opening song because it gives the feeling a show is about to start. One other song I'd like to touch upon that's also in the album is Gira Gira, which also happens to be Ado's third single. It depicts someone that has a strong complex towards their appearance and feelings of loneliness, with impactful lyrics like "God made my face with his left hand." Damn. To Ado, the lyrics are tinged with sarcasm, and in many ways, she says she feels a close affinity to this song than Usseewa or Ready Meido. Around the time of Kyogen's release, the album contained 7 songs that were previously unreleased. Needless to say, it's a masterpiece. Something that also must be mentioned is that the album's artwork was done by Ado's official image director and illustrator, Orihara. Apparently, Orihara was a huge fan of Ado way before her major debut, and would do a lot of her fan art and post it on Twitter. Ado used her fan art for her icon, and that's how their relationship got started. Orihara being able to do the art for Ado's first album was like a dream for her, and she poured everything she had into the project. At first, when she heard the album's name, she thought Ado was going for maybe something really Japanese as the concept, so she said she visited 15 different shrines in her neighborhood for inspiration. Holy crap, just goes to show you how she feels about Ado. Apparently, Kyogen's alternative title is Orihara's first love letter. Also, fun fact, Orihara is also in the same talent agency as Ado, Cloud9. I don't think that is a coincidence. However, something else would come Ado's way that she could never have imagined being a part of. Her agency told her that an offer for her to play the singing vocals for the character Uta in the upcoming One Piece movie Red, as well as doing the main soundtrack, had just come in. Apparently, at first when Ado heard One Piece, she thought the agency was talking about clothes. She couldn't believe it, and even wondered if it was okay for such a cute character to have her singing vocals. Just to be clear, Uta's main voice actress would be Nazuka Kaori, while Ado would be doing the singing. Oh, and kind of unrelated, but apparently there was some joke going around that Utaite was Ado's father, because Oda, spelled backwards, is Ado. Unfortunately, Oda said this wasn't true. Damn. Each song for the movie's soundtrack had a pretty big name as its producer. For example, the movie's main theme song, Shinjidai, was written and produced by Nakata Yasutaka, the man behind Perfume. Apparently, Oda Eiichiro asked Yasutaka to create a powerful song that symbolizes the birth of a new diva, as well as a song that matches the world of One Piece. I would say, job done. Topping Apple Music's Global 100 playlist, a first for a Japanese song, Shinjidai, or New Genesis as its English name, definitely helped further boost Ado's popularity overseas, along with efforts from the marketing team. Ado also signed with an American record label, Geffen Records, in October 2022 to release music in the US, further signifying efforts to push things overseas. Before going overseas though, Ado went on her first nationwide tour named Shinkiro, or Mirage as it would be known in English. In fact, 2023 was basically all about touring Japan, as 5 months later after finishing her Shinkiro tour, she would go on her second nationwide tour named Mars. Also in 2023, Ado hosted her very own late-night radio show called Ado no All Night Nippon, where she got to interview a variety of special guests, including Mafu Mafu and even Suzuka from Atarashi Gakko. Now, it might not be as big of a deal as One Piece, but Ado's song Kura Kura was used for the second season opening for one of my personal favorite anime series, Spy Family. Then, on her 21st birthday, Ado announced her first world tour, Wish, which would take place the following year. But to finish off 2023, Ado ticked off another major achievement. She appeared on the 74th Kohaku Uta Gassen. Kohaku is a popular music TV special that happens every New Year's Eve, where two teams filled with the best artists of the year compete with each other. To put it simply, it's a great honor for any artist to appear on this show, but especially rare for an Utaite. I think the only other Utaite I have heard appearing on this show is Mafu Mafu a couple of years earlier. Ado remains pretty active in 2024. Besides her world tour, she has released a number of digital singles, and in July, she released her second album, Zammu, with the album's artwork being done by, of course, Orihara. The Usseewa frenzy may have cooled down, but Ado's fanbase still continues to grow. Ado has collaborated with so many different artists and gets involved with all kinds of different projects. I feel that she's trying to savor every moment of this experience and not let it go to waste. I think one of the most important things to understand about Ado is that she helped bring the Utaite culture into the mainstream spotlight, giving hope to many individuals who, similar to her, wish to achieve big things while not showing themselves. She is truly a beacon of inspiration. Even if people quote-unquote exposed her somehow, that actually doesn't mean anything. Utaite culture is all about focusing on the music pieced together by some really talented individuals. I wish all the best for her and hope she continues to break boundaries for all those inkera in their bedrooms. Okay, that's gonna do it for this video, guys. This is going to be a long one, I'm sure. There's a lot more I could have added, but honestly, I think I've gone on long enough. There is a lot to talk about when it comes to Ado. There's a lot of people that have already covered her, and I know that she has a massive fan base overseas, so I wasn't really sure what to talk about in this video, but hopefully there's a lot that you have taken away from this video. I hope you did enjoy it. Please let me know your thoughts, your comments, and if you have any other suggestions, put them in the comments below. I am looking. Anyway, thank you again, guys. Take care. Peace.